to Julius. Puts up a three. Yeah!
Bearcat Blitz, cruising through the middle of July right here on the Believe Network. I'm your host, Russ Heltman. He's my co-host just across the way there, back in the Natty after his nearly week-long trip to the desert in Las Vegas for Big 12 Media Days. Neil Meyer in the fold, both of us from BearcatsTalk.com. Check out our work there, and you can check out Neil's work as well on the frontofficenews.com. You can check out this show wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube as well. Talking Cats with Russ Heltman is the spot to check out the show. We got a lot to get to today, but first, got to give a shout out to our main sponsor, our title sponsor, Bet Online. We love them, and they are your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season, from baseball, golf, soccer, right to all the top fights in UFC, MMA, and boxing. Every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played are available. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Use promo code BELIEVE for your 50% free bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. Once again, that's promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, as in victory. Bet Online. The game starts here. And Neil, we have to start with the big news of the week, the best news that you could possibly get coming off of the blood clot incident with Dontay Corleone last month. That surfaced in the middle of the month, according to the UC timeline they offered. And Scott Satterfield gives an update saying that Dontay Corleone back with the team. They have their best player back in the fold. Not necessarily given details on how much intensity the workouts are that he's going through, but we do know, Neil, that he's back with the team, and that's great news for I don't know who it's bad news for, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely, Russ. And that is actually the biggest news coming out of media days there in Las Vegas. But everybody knows how scary of an announcement that was when it was first diagnosed that Dontay Corleone would be out indefinitely due to those blood clots. But then just 11 short days later, out there in Las Vegas, Nevada on Tuesday, Scott Satterfield gives a huge update saying Dontay Corleone is back with the team, working out. It's not really sure what extent, as you mentioned. We didn't really get that kind of clarification on what he's been doing, but a quote from Scott Satterfield's media day out there with the full update on Dontay Corleone when asked about any updates was, first of all, just want to recognize our medical team and our training staff and our doctors. They did a phenomenal job of identifying what was going on with Dontay. They did many other tests to come find out that he did have some blood clots in his lungs. Fortunately for Dontay, there was nothing else wrong. Everything else, his heart, his health, no other blood clots. So right now, working with our medical team, he is back working out with our team, started last week. He's been with our team yesterday and today, so we have to continue to work out all summer, hopefully taking it day by day. But hopefully as we progress throughout the summer and head into fall camp, that he will be available to play and available to go. I know he wants to. He's such an incredible young man, but I think we'll have to take this day by day and see where it's at. But obviously, the hope is that he'll be able to play with us this fall and play at a high elite level. And then following forward on what other kind of updates we got, safety Derek Canteen spoke to the reporters out there in Las Vegas as well, said he saw Dontay Corleone in the weight room on Monday with smiles all across his face from ear to ear. So that's another big positive update as well.
Great stuff. Great stuff to hear from Dontay. He's the best player on the team. He's one of the best players in the Big 12, arguably the best defensive tackle in the conference and one of the best defensive tackles in the country. He's a guy that's going to play at the next level. He projects to have a long career in football if they can get this fully figured out and handled and under control. And it looks like we are, knock on wood, on the path towards that being a reality. Obviously not across the finish line yet. Have to get him fully cleared for all football activities. And as far as we know, that has not happened yet. Back working with the team, though, that's a clear, huge first step and great news. The best possible news of the entire week. Neil, you and I were talking. We weren't sure we're going to get any kind of update, let alone Dontay Corleone actually being back with the team, and that great of an update at that. So it was awesome stuff, and a great week for the program at that, despite, Neil, the news that we get to on the back end. We start the show with great news, And we have to follow it up with some bad news here, as Cincinnati has 0 hometown heroes in the 2025 class. Now that linebacker Paul Nelson is headed to Purdue, to Indiana. I'm getting all these middling Big Ten schools mixed up because they just keep poaching players from Cincinnati out of their 2025 class. Neil, this is a rough loss for Cincinnati. It's left them near the mid 60s to 70s in overall recruiting rankings. We talked about the average recruit rating being solid and that being a thing to hang your hat on. But all in all, we talked about on earlier this week, the panic meter for me inching up just a little bit to median range around a 4 to 5, 5 to 6 range. And that was before this decommitment. And it's just another sign that there is still an amalgamation and some work to be done on the recruiting trail, despite 2 months remaining left in this class. The numbers that Cincinnati is looking at right now in terms of overall national rankings, they're just not good enough, and they're not where they need to be in the second year and first full opportunity for Satterfield to make up a class in his image at UC.
Yeah, obviously losing another hometown hero is a big worry for the recruiting class. Obviously, they really want to emphasize on keeping the local talent here in Cincinnati, as we've talked about for quite a while on this show and throughout Scott Satterfield's tenure since coming to Cincinnati. But losing Paul Nelson to Indiana is always going to hurt, because hometown heroes, you never want to see them go outside of Cincinnati. But Nelson now joins Eric Gale, another hometown hero who decommits to go to the Big Ten. And then you lose out on a guy like Grant Bierman, who we talked about earlier in this week, who goes to Purdue. But right now, I mean, it's definitely a big loss in terms of what are they doing to keep the local talent here? Because as you mentioned, Russ, there's no local talent, no hometown heroes within this 2025 recruiting class. But right now, I still don't think they're done recruiting. We've seen a couple of teasers out there of potential commits coming ready. So it's just going to be announced a time and when of those announcements come. But the biggest thing, Russ, heading into this recruiting class is that we can just jump right into it. Mikhail Skinner, keeping him atop of the class. I believe he just jumped up to 214th in the 2025 class. I mean, that's your prime target. He's listed as a tight end, but I don't think Cincinnati plans to use him as a tight end. I believe they're going to use him at the wide receiver role, and that's your biggest target right now. He just picked up a University of Kentucky offer, and we know what their NIL bag looks like down there at the University of Kentucky. So
insert the gritted teeth emoji, Neil. Insert it. Kentucky loves to let UC find the talent, and then they bring in their big dogs, their big cash bags, and steal them. That has happened multiple times since I've started covering this team.
Just have to find a way to keep him here. But based on all due assumptions on social media, you see him tweeting the Bearcats, paws, all the emojis. It looks like this is where he wants to be. But until that pen is signed to the paper on signing day, anything could happen, and nobody really knows what could happen in terms of recruiting until it becomes pen to paper and official.
Yeah, we'll get some more of my thoughts on this topic and just everything going on with UC recruiting after this message on Bearcat Blitz. Bearcat Blitz coming back here. As Neil mentioned, Mikhail Skinner has increased his ranking up from, I believe, a 90 overall to a 91 now. He is now officially a top 250 player in the class of 2025. I will give them credit there. They have now officially gotten a firm 4-star player. He's only not rated a 4-star on Rivals. I think that's literally just because Rivals hasn't updated their rankings to justify him being a 4-star player. Every other major service has him firmly within the top 300 players. So that was a big criticism of mine over the past 2 weeks. Mikhail Skinner has elevated his game throughout this camp season, throughout the summer, throughout the offseason enough to be one of those firm 4-star talents. They have currently checked that off the box. That box is checked in pencil, not pen, until that national letter of intent is signed by Mikhail Skinner later on this fall. So I got to give them credit there. They have brought in a talent. They identified Skinner early before he got major offers anywhere, before he was a major 4-star, solidified 4-star talent. He wasn't even ranked when Cincinnati offered Skinner. I will give them credit there. That is a massive win that they have currently on the board right now. Are they going to be able to keep him on the board is the big question. And we'll see over the next 6-7 months. If you're losing recruiting battles to middling Big Ten schools for players in the low 3-star range and their hometown heroes, I can't think of any other reason why players like an Eric Gale or a Paul Nelson would want to play for Indiana or Illinois as opposed to Cincinnati without it being monetary. So that's the big issue here, Neil, is are the funds going to be heavy enough to keep players like Mikhail Skinner when and if he gets a dream offer from a Clemson or maybe another school in South Carolina? Maybe he hasn't gotten that offer yet. There is so much time for this to go south, but there is also time for them to keep this afloat in terms of Mikhail Skinner. So big props there. They have kept him on the in the fold so far, and they've seen him grow while keeping him in the fold in terms of national prominence.
Yeah,
it's better though, Neil. There's just like it's got to be better for them to have raised my issue level on Monday. You lose your only remaining hometown hero the next day and your only linebacker in the 2025 class. And now you've gone from a class firmly in the top 35 to 45 nationally. Average ranking when we looked at the class 2.5 weeks ago was 43.75. Now they're down to 66th on 24/7 Sports. They will not be ranked on ESPN's latest update when that comes out from Craig Halbert. They were 34th on that marker. And as I mentioned, Eric Gale was their top defensive recruit in ESPN's eyes, and he is gone now. So they won't be ranked there anymore. Rivals, they were 58th a few weeks ago. Now you see Cincinnati checking in at 73rd. Not good. On 3. Few weeks ago, they were 44th. Cincinnati now checking in at outside the top 50. They're at 59, the highest of the major services when we look at the current ranking right now. Neil, it's just I don't know how many more ways I can say it. It's just it's not good enough. And they got to find a way to get this class to nearly 20 names and 6 more names added to this class that's going to get it in the 40s. They have to find a way to get this thing as at least a national average ranking around 45 to 50.
Yeah, and I think they're potentially on the verge of doing that. Obviously, Russ, we talked about it. They're looking at probably 21 members of the 2025 recruiting class. Right now, I believe they're at 15 following the decommit of Paul Nelson. So overall, there's still a couple of names that they're looking to add, but it's going to be interesting to see what those names will do and how much they'll really help those recruiting rankings. But I'm really looking forward, Russ, to seeing what this staff does. Now that you mentioned you lose your only linebacker in this class, I think everybody knows that's probably going to be a area of potential target within the high school recruiting rankings. But it's really going to be interesting to see what transpires over the next 3 to 4 weeks in terms of this 2025 recruiting class for sure.
Grant Bierman, another guy, another linebacker, local linebacker, they couldn't land. He goes to a middling Big Ten school in Purdue. It's just these are battles that you cannot be losing in Big Ten country to middling schools if you want to keep pace in the Big 12 with the rest of the big dogs in the SEC and the Big Ten. Although it's a slow burn, the rebuild it's going to take time, people. We talked about patience earlier this week. It still holds true. When you look at looking at ESPN's preview from Bill Connolly of all the Big 12 teams going into the season, Neil, going into last year, UC had the 126th ranked returning production from 2022 to 2023 across all FBS schools. It's really hard to expect wins, let alone strong success coming off of the AAC going into the Big 12. So that's a big reason why Scott Satterfield struggled in year one. He's turned over the roster with 40 plus new faces, new names, new quarterback at that. He's got his guys. We'll see if he can actually get results with his guys this time around, as he does not have the excuse of returning production in 2023 to 2024. Take a quick break here on Bearcat Blitz. Get the Neil's top takeaways from Big 12 media days. Media days have come and gone from Las Vegas, Nevada, and Neil was there taking it all in across the desert. Neil, takeaways for us. What are some of your top takeaways from your time in Las Vegas with the Bearcats?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's the biggest takeaway was what we opened the show with, and that was the health of Dontay Corleone. Getting that positive update was a huge thing. But then just going around Big 12 media days, obviously it's always good to make connections and see familiar faces from colleagues who cover the Big 12 across the country. But the biggest takeaway, Russ, this year was obviously the additions of Colorado, Utah, Arizona, and Arizona State. But it was great to hear the love that Deion Sanders gave back to the city of Cincinnati. I thought that was a fantastic question that we were able to get to him and really ask about what the city of Cincinnati means to him. And
talk about Zimmer's ranch, going there when Zimmer was on the Colorado staff. That was fun.
So it was a great opportunity about what he really said about the city of Cincinnati. He said, Deion Sanders, quote unquote, said, Cincinnati is dear to me. The city, Ohio, that's where I got to know the Lord and gave my life to him. I'm forever grateful for the city of Cincinnati. I wanted to play 2 sports there at one time. I love Cincinnati and what they're doing football-wise, especially for what they did a few years back, referencing the college football playoff appearance. But overall, Russ, I think you get to see what this conference is going to be like. It's 16 teams now for the first time ever. And, I mean, obviously we have to discuss the blunder by EA Sports out there in Las Vegas where they misspelled the name tag on the locker. We did get confirmation that that was not a Big 12 issue. That was an EA Sports mishap. So for anybody who did see the tweets out there surrounding the locker tag, we did get confirmation from the Big 12 that that was not one of their issues. That was an actual EA Sports mishap, but one that probably shouldn't be able to happen out there in Las Vegas. I don't know how you really misspell Cincinnati.
I don't know about passing the blame when it's your event. You're able to go through the event before everybody gets in. But whatever. It doesn't matter. Who cares? It's whatever.
But overall, it was great to see you. And Russ, let's talk about some style out there. Let's talk about Corey Kiner's suit. I don't know if you saw the picture. Man. Said it was the first time he actually wore designer clothes. He prefers a Nike. He says he's a Nike tech suit kind of guy, but he said when they asked him or approached him of having the opportunity to go out to Vegas, he said, "Oh, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I got to find something nice to wear." He said he walked into Louis Vuitton, asked for some opinions, and he was kind of like, "I don't know what. Never really worn anything like this before." So he came out. It was a clean suit. It was probably one of the cleaner outfits that we saw out there, up there with KJ Jefferson. Lee Hunter from UCF had a very nice suit on out there. But overall, it was just great to see everybody out there engaging. It really looked like the Bearcats guys were out there enjoying their time in Vegas, despite having some flight issues on the way home due to the temperatures. So they made a quick pit stop at In-N-Out. So if you haven't seen the video of Corey Kiner trying In-N-Out for the first time, go check out Dan Hord's Twitter. You'll see that as well. But overall, Russ, it was a great time out there. I think I told you guys off the record, but staying at the media hotel was at the Bellagio. So you're staying in the same hotel with Team USA and all that. So it was just kind of interesting to see all those Team USA players kind of float around and whatnot. I mean, you and I talked off the record. I was sitting there playing blackjack at like 2 a.m. the other night, and I look up and LeBron's 2 feet in front of me, just walking by himself with Savannah. I was like, well, that's a sight I wasn't really expecting to see when you're within 5 feet realm of greatness right there, an absolute GOAT. So, I mean, Overall, we got to see Team USA get a big win in their exhibition game versus Canada. So that was cool. But overall, Las Vegas is Las Vegas. It's a great time. But Russ, I'm just happy to be back home, not in 121-degree heat. I'll say that because it was scorching.
Oh yeah, just preparing for the Camp Higher Ground heat, which is less than a month away. We're less than a month from camp opening up at Higher Ground. Get those pads clacking for real and start getting these position battles hammered out. And some notes there before we close the show. A couple of notes. John Cunningham said that the IPF, the indoor practice facility, on schedule. So it's scheduled to be completely done by early. It was spring 25 was the original scheduling. Keeping that original scheduling. It's on track to be done on time for all those sports. And then the quarterback battle, not going to be decided until the last kind of 10 days of fall camp, according to Scott Satterfield. I would be absolutely floored if Brendan Sorsby doesn't win that job. And I will be taking a real hard look at how the team is coming together in general in terms of a season-long win-loss prediction if he does not win that job. So I think for all involved, it would behoove just people wanting the Bearcats to succeed this year are going to want Brendan Sorsby to have full control of that playbook after he said he was still getting a handle on it in the spring game and take control of that job. I think fans would prefer to see that job get won outright by Sorsby much earlier than 10 days left in fall camp. But maybe in the end, Brady Lichtenberg will have made enough improvement. That's why you get out on the field, get those pads on, get them clacking. We'll see how that plays out. A lot
and
more.
Russ, too, to mention on that quarterback battle, this is something that we've seen for the last 4 years where they don't name the official, quote unquote, official.
Right. We know it's going to be Sorsby.
We know what's going to happen,
Right.
but they go until maybe the last week before they come out and they say, hey, this is who's going to be starting for us. It's just a thing that they've been doing the last few years, whether that was Luke Fickell's staff, whether that's Scott Satterfield's staff. Last year, going into the fall camp, we knew who was going to be starting at quarterback because the battle was over in the spring after Ben Bryant transferred to Northwestern. This year, you had the full, quote-unquote, quarterback battle heading into spring. Obviously, Brady Lichtenberg saw some time last year. Brendan Sorsby comes in, but he also mentioned Samaj Jones out there at media days as well. Said they're liking what they see from him, but overall, he said it's going to be a battle that could linger into fall, towards the end of fall camp, which was expected before they determine their starting quarterback. I don't think they really want to go out there and say who's going to be starting 3 months before the season kicks off, because then teams get more of an advantage to study and really kind of understand what they have at the quarterback position. But overall, that's going to be something we keep an eye on, Russ. But it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out for sure.
For Neil Meyer, I'm Russ Heltman. This has been Bearcat Blitz on the Believe Network.
This is the second. 15 seconds left. Shot clock off. 4-point game. DeJulius puts up a three. Yes!